Welcome to Death Metal Pug. I'm Chat Pug. I want to be a rock star when I grow up. The purpose of this is to have fun and talk about music. I'd like to thank Mick Mars for being on last week's episode. He's there. There. Today is March 19th, 2025. I want to talk about the band Oriska. Raise attention to their album that came out a couple months ago. I want to talk about the band Havukruunu. They had an album come out 2 weeks ago. And I want to talk about the 10 out of 10 all-time classic from Kill or Be Killed, Reluctant Hero. I was gonna ask if there was too much screaming. It went into a funeral dirge.
We're gonna be talking about Kendrick Lamar's new album.
Hello, I am not talking about Kendrick Lamar. Oriska is a death doom band, as I kind of hear it, based out of Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh!
Where are they from?
That's just what I heard.
Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo, North Dakota.
North Dakota?
That's a real state.
Nope.
Oriska, O-R-I-S-K-A. A friend of mine turned me on to this. He had went to a concert and they were part of the package there, and he sent me over a recommendation. As we do, back and forth, we send each other music, and hopefully you have a friend or two or 5 or 20 that you do this as well. So I listened to this, and it's just heavy death. Slower. I want to equate it to something like Mizmer, Primitive Man. Mizmer just announced a tour with Dragged Into Sunlight. I'm looking at tickets for that. That sounds super interesting. In a couple of months, they come through the Chicago area. But Oriska has a really heavy moment. They mix it in with more of a slower passage with more like a brooding cello or kind of keyboard section, and then they just have furious drums, wall of sound of guitars, and it won't be too much different than some things you've heard, but it is something that connected with me. And I'm not always the biggest doom metal 45-minute long song kind of person. A lot of it has to do with my lifestyle too, so check them out. What have you been up to this week? I've been listening to a lot of Meshuggah in advance of the concert coming up in Chicago, the beginning of April. Really looking forward to that and just digesting Meshuggah's music even more. Spending a lot of time with Catch 33, spending a lot of time with the IEP, and just kind of listening to those tracks and a mixture of everything and reminding myself how awesome some of that music is. Meshuggah feels very ahead of everybody, right? When they came out, I didn't seem like I was ready for it. Everything just ahead of everybody. The song Bleed, of course, pattern on top, pattern underneath with the feet. Just Meshuggah, right? So I've been listening to a ton of them, a little bit of CC, a bit of Carcass, because they're all on that same concert, right? Did you all check out that new Wake album, rWake? Because I guess there's another Wake, or this is the Southern Wake, or I don't know, Wake of, the Ashes. The rWake album, a dense thing. It's got this really unexpected long moment with this track in the middle, and the first one is just exactly what you thought when you left off of their all-time classic. I've had a little bit of time to digest this Havukruunu album, and it's quite the thing. So I keep hearing black metal referenced for this, and it's not quite what I'm hearing. It's definitely not like a second wave, Dark Throne, Mayhem thing. A lot of times I think now if we don't understand the music or something's coming out, we just call it black metal, because black metal's gotten so weird in certain pockets and it's had different kind of ways to change. Or it's just simply a vocal derivative or something, which this is a mid-range true black metal scream, not the super high stuff. So it does have that. So in that mid-range, but it's not like the classic kind of scream stuff. So I'm just gonna call them tracks, right? I can't pronounce the name of the songs on the album. So the first one, like Cood, it comes in with like a creepy spoken word in a language that's not English, right? Maybe it's Finnish. The band is Finnish. Remember when At the Gates did that on one of their like comeback albums? That one was in Spanish, I'm pretty sure. This one, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's hard to get into music that's not where it's not in English. It takes a while to get into. It's kind of like watching a movie that's not in English, you know. It just is harder to like kind of get into. So I get that with this as well. It's a challenging album is what I'm trying to point out. After that creepy spoken word part, it just rips into this like cool guitar riff. It's melodic, it's Maiden-esque at times, and then like it's just this great like riff, and then the vocals just rip into it, right? They just like go into it. The bass on this whole album is just chunky in parts, like chunk, 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 you know, it's cool and it stands out at certain points in it, right? And there's this like chanting a lot of times, like just chanting, is that what you would call it? Like chorus, choral, it's like chanting throughout it. And this is used quite frequently from the first song, I'm pretty sure all the way to the end. So it's something rather unique in it, but it's really buried. It's not in your face, it's not poppy or sing-songy so much, but it does fit it, but it's a different aspect. Track 2, the Y track, lots of bright like ahs and oohs and acoustic melodies in this thing. The drum and cymbal work are just popping right at the start, you know. Track 4, the title track, Tavaslan, it comes in just vocally blazing out of the gate. Huge blast, just riffing through this thing, you know, just carrying it in this like reoccurring riff that just carries it through, right? So just, you know, through the song you hear it. So just good songwriting like that, right? On track 4, which feels a little understated overall, and interesting that it was the choice for the album, which I have no idea what the album's about. I don't know what it's about because, you know, I didn't spend the time to look it up, but it feels like they're telling a story here. Track 5, I'll just say Coma with a K kind of thing. It has this acoustic open, winds and strings are inside of this, and then the album vibe shifts to like an epic traditional metal like song and vibe, and you're gonna get that throughout this thing a lot, this shift to like what I would call like traditional metal and these kind of gallops and cool kind of things. Then like what I could only refer to as like Max Cavalera like vocals coming in, right? Just like harsh but not like death metal growl harsh, but like aggressive cleans, a flashy solo like 2/3 of the way through this thing. That's totally worth it, just worth the whole adventure. And then it just becomes a fun, flashy guitar like ending to this thing. It's just big rock endings sometimes on this album, where they just let it ring and rock and just like, oh, you know, it's like how they close it, but it is under like this production darkness, which we would equate to like a black metal sheen, right? Like the last Witch Vomit album, certain other like darker albums where it's got this like, all the gloss has been taken off of it, but it's got those characteristics of like epic heavy metal band to it. The first time you listen to this, I suggest you start this album on track 6. I think it's the best, and it begins what I think is the best run on the album, which is the last 3 tracks, 6, 7, and 8. They're pretty long. All the tracks are pretty long. The last one is the longest, I think, at 10 minutes or over. Track 6, which has a completely unpronounceable public educated American would ever consider pronouncing, but it begins with a U, and every like vowel and letter has like 2 I's above it. Lots of vowels and O's and dots above those. It sounds like at the beginning like a Satanist behemoth song. It's chanty, and then a guitar riff in the distance, you know, and then like it's like glass shatters, and then there's the blast, and you know, and just like it rips through. It's a great song, and then it just kind of like fades out. Havukruunu's album, the next track 7, is this like classic heavy metal riff, like palm mute, pom pom, no, and it's just like drums, clean kicks. It's got a kick drum all over the thing. Not quite halfway through, it's got a gigantic solo in the thing, this track 7 again. Chanting, think of it when coded in this, like, we can't help but think of Nile when anything is Egypt, right? In heavy music. So it feels like Nile just simply because it's sending those vibes. So you equate that, to it. 90 seconds to the end of this track, it takes like a different like vibe, like an 80s, not hair metal, but metal kind of vibe, like increasing double kicks, just kind of moving through it. And then it has this giant cinematic ending, like when the beginning of a movie, when it would show like the production company or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, Lionsgate, and like it could end the album. But it's not the last track on the album. The last track, track 8, Die Mysterious Dom Satanis, it starts again with that spooky word intro thing in like a non-English language. There's wind and a storm in this at the beginning. And then it just rips into 80s guitar, like epic heavy metal guitar, right? The thing is 10 minutes long plus. It's got this bouncing bass over everything, blah, 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 over the guitar chords. The parts of this feel very Queensryche-ish to me, to a person who's not a huge Queensryche fan. So I would have only heard like the hits is what I'm getting at, right? This song is an EP into of itself. It kind of is. It's got a cool like double time part where it speeds up, through it. Like everything kicks up a little bit faster. Epic black metal. It's got a ripper solo in the final half, and it's just like over this like 80s like rhythm guitar. Do you remember that Black Anvil song, like Ultra? It was the last song in that album, and it was just such a cool like ending to it. So it's very like kind of like cinematic like that. So just totally cool. Fun album. Havukruunu. Check it out. Really give it a listen. It's going to take a few listens and a few times to get into it, but recommended. Killer Be Killed is an American heavy metal supergroup founded by Dillinger Escape Plan vocalist Greg Puciato and Soulfly frontman Max Cavalera in early 2011. The lineup also features Mastodon bassist and co-vocalist Troy Sanders and Converge drummer Ben Kohler. The band has been slowly working on material before announcing its name in October 2013, along with their signing to Nuclear Blast. The group's self-titled debut record was released in 2014. In September 2020, the group returned with a new single and released their second album, Reluctant Hero, in November of that year. Reluctant Hero is 11 tracks and 48 minutes long. Killer Be Killed has 2 guitarists, and it has 3 vocalists, which provides some of the interesting dynamics to the album. When they were making Reluctant Hero, Greg said that he and Troy put all the pretty vocals on, and Cavalera came in as a big old tank to run over all the brilliant stuff they did. That was pretty funny and a good analogy of it. One of the album's defining strengths is how seamlessly the band integrates their individual styles. Cavalera's raw, primal energy gives the album its aggressive backbone, while Puciato's ability to switch between feral screams and soaring melodies adds an unpredictable edge to it. Sanders' signature Mastodon-esque grit brings a muscular, anthemic quality, and Kohler's drumming keeps everything tight and explosive. Kohler doesn't opt for beats per minute, but instead finds each hit, each pop, each cymbal perfectly placed for optimal primal impact. First track, Deconstructing Self-Destruction, kicks off with punishing riffs and a triple vocal attack that immediately sets the tone of the album. The chemistry between the vocalists is a highlight throughout the album, as they trade lines, harmonize, and contrast each other in a way that feels natural rather than forced. On an album full of excellent tracks, the standouts are Dream Gone Bad, one of the album's most accessible tracks. It balances melody and aggression with an anthemic chorus that lingers. Sanders takes the lead, and his haunting delivery makes this song particularly memorable. Inner Calm from Outer Storms. This track is a slow-burning epic that builds from an eerie, atmospheric intro into a crushing wall of sound. The track From a Crowded Room starts with a dingy guitar riff, adds in Greg's urgent vocals. This song, as in many of the tracks, have an incredible melody to them. Reluctant Hero, the title track that closes this album out on a unexpectedly emotional note. Stripped down and melancholic at first, it crescendos into a powerful cinematic climax, showcasing a depth beyond the band's usual breakneck intensity. I also think this song is about grief or loss. Sometimes the lyrics on this album have an interpretation to them or an interpretability, but others offer a more poignant message. And this one, Reluctant Hero, I think is about grieving someone. The production, handled by Josh Wilbur, known for his work with Lamb of God and Gojira, is sharp and muscular. It allows each instrument to cut through the mix without feeling overproduced. The guitar tones are thick and meaty, and the drums punch hard. The bass rumbles with authority. It's a polished but heavy sound that complements the band's multifaceted approach. Killer Be Killed's Reluctant Hero is a 10 out of 10 pugs. It is a wonderful metal album. Fans of groove-laden, genre-bending metal will find a lot to love here. It's metal. It's not black metal, it's not death metal, or anything else, but just metal. That's it. The Metal Bowl.